This video is on a requested feature script, the Death Counters system. The request is please could you please add a death count that shows up in my HUD to my game? So when I'm thinking about doing things, I have to always think of another game that would probably have this feature already. And I was thinking of Witch's Weed. In Witch's Weed, they had a counter that showed how many times you died. So then I looked, it's really a fun game. Very hyper reflex training platformer. I recommend checking it out, possibly just for fun, before checking out this tutorial, possibly. This link is to an old NESmaker topic. I'm not using that link, I'm just showing it that it's an option for you. So you'd want to think about logically how you would go about doing the task. That's always the first step after trying to just figure out if somebody's already done it and think about how they might have done it or something. Um, so then if you get player death is controlled by two files usually. Um, there's sometimes others like tiles that affect this. So we must always think about like object collisions and the handle player hurt. Those two files, those two scripts, are usually what controls um the player dying or being hurt. Also hurt player tiles or instant death player tiles as well. They asked me if they could update the HUD element. The HUD elements show the variables that we need to display. So I asked what HUD element they want me to use in the game. They want me to use HUD element 1. So HUD element 0 will be like the text. It'll say like, deaths, or it'll say like health, deaths. And then HUD element 1 will be what we're going to use for the death count, which is going to be my death counts, or my death count. You'll see. Um, so it says designated. They wanted me to use HUD element 1, so that's what we're going to do. So that brings me to C. We need to create a variable that's going to display the player death count. So now we're going to have to think about creating a new variable or creating three. Um, so if you're going to do like an add value, if you do an add value would be how many places you want it to be, how much you're adding to it, and then basically the if you're doing that, you need to know how many places and stuff like that. And I was thinking we could use like 3 places for the variable when it's in the HUD. So basically normally it would be a max of 0 to 999. But we're gonna use this just because we're gonna make like a simple version. I'm just gonna try using 0 to 255. I'm gonna have it checked that if you're at the max number 255, that it doesn't increase after that. So it just stays at that max number. So that's going to be the max number for this. So I was given an image of the user's variables, and I noticed that my lives is in this, and since they want infinity lives, my lives is unnecessary for infinity lives. We're just not going to use that. But I still need to use my health, my max health. I already have my ammo, I don't need my keys. It's not referenced by any of these files, so I'm not using that. I do pause my game. I don't use a player one weapon, but that's not referenced either. So the death count is going to check against the FF hex value, which is 256. So that's the max number, or well, 250. technically it's 255, but 0 is also a number as well. So it'd be 255. 256 is the 256 number. It's just that's the max value we're going to check against. Or you can use three different variables like my score does. So for that, you'd have to have three different variables. You'd have like my death count, underscore 10. Um, my score looks like this. Stuff like that. So if you're going to do three value, it would be like that. So it would be my death count underscore 10, my death count underscore 100. Anyway, since you're watching this video, I'm just going to delete that. We don't need that in here. Um, so when checking the scripts, be sure to look for HUD references and references to any and all variables in the picture. So that was what I just mentioned, the ones we need. So be especially vigilant for my lives to eliminate this from the scripts, and all references that need to be replaced by those things that are going to change. I'm going to keep in mind and display why we can't simply just use the JSR and the tiles. I've tried lots of tiles with JSR to jump the subroutine for say like her monster, her player, and then bounce back, and it just doesn't do that or anything like that. So anyway, I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna have to rewrite the tile. Basically, there's not much to it though, so I'll show you how simple it is. So we gotta keep in mind this is like for an arcade platform or arcade base module. Um, he put health in it. So instead of having lives, you basically have health, but then you have infinite lives. And each time you die, there's a counter. So he's probably gonna make like multiple endings or something like that. Maybe bonus levels you can't get to if it's, you have too many deaths or something. Kind of like golf, you want to keep that score low. Um, so then next in step 2, I go to inspect the scripts. So always check scripts to be edited and change your ideas for logically completing the task accordingly. So any of these, you may have to change based on when you check the scripts. That's why like some of this is like this stuff right here, the steps that are needed when you check the scripts. So we're going to start by checking the do handle object collisions script and check where there's JSR do handle hurt player or objects that could possibly hurt the player that would do so. Alright, so up at the top here, um, all you're looking for is something that would reference hurting the player. So like this is a player weapon he's got, or they got, um, that would hurt the monster and it would destroy the weapon when it collides with the monster. Or something. I don't know. He's got both of them in here. I don't know. That's odd to have them both. Because you could just have the monster deuce. Anyway, um, we're just gonna ignore that for now. It's not needed. Right here, the do handle hurt player. So we're gonna make sure there's no other references that hurt the player in here. So this is the monster collides with the player. That was in the original script. That was not there. the person that gave me its fault. That was actually a typo that was originally in the other one. No, they just have pickup scripts. Power up is destroyed when it collides with the player. But there's no other things that handle the hurt player. So you probably don't even need to edit anything in this script. This script is unnecessary. Like, you don't even have to. I just needed it for my project to associate it with my game to make sure that everything works properly. So yeah, it's just me fixing a typo, whatever. So the two files we're gonna have to work with are these files, the hurt player and the hurt player tile. The player hurt tile. So this one is only in this file in this folder because it's needed to make everything work too. But it's not being edited at all. So it's important to note um, even before you go to editing, it's like um, we don't. Sorry, need to edit the collision object collision. Everything was checked there. It basically references properly to the player. If it did anything like destroy object or even anything else like that was odd, it would um need to be fixed. So we're not gonna mess with that. All right. So next we would want to do handle her player subroutine. The JSR jumps to the subroutine. So it's gonna jump to that do handle her player, which is located here. This is your do handler player, your her player. I guess it's Metrovania because he's using the health. So I did a little bit of quick edits to it. I had to get rid of this play sound. Just commented it out for myself. You can put it when you're using it in your game. Just put it back in. Um, I just had to edit it out because I don't have that sound effect because I'm using my game. But I noticed we're updating HUD element 2. That's for my health. I wrote that in there as a note, and that changes the player object. So this is when you get hurt and you have health left. Now, if the health is 0, that's basically the player's dead. You jump to that. So all this stuff I just kept basically the same. They already had that commented out, so it stays commented out, and then it would be all this. Now what I'm going to add in here, I'm going to show you I did this in the tile file first. Alright, so then after that you would check that, and then it would lead you to the hurt player, which we already checked. I'm going to rename the files anyway. Make sure that you cover all your bases and you check the tile. The tile has my lives references in it. So I commented out this whole section. So I wrote, we have infinite lives, so we don't need to use my lives. You just die without losing lives because you have infinite lives. So we're gonna skip all this. None of this is needed. So it just checks for the player. If it's not the player, it goes down here. The monster just doesn't trigger the tile. But if it is the player, it does all this. Okay, that's fine. That'll work. I added this in here. This is for the death count. Get to that in one moment. So I'm pretty sure that's everything. I'm gonna show you now. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of their project because I wanted to show how you could do this in your game. It doesn't have to be this specific person's project we're doing this in. Um, this is an old copy of Nightmare Castle I have. Still, NESmaker 456. So it works. I'm just going to delete this copy when I'm done with it because it's not really needed. I'm just doing it to show you. I'm going to include these files for download for everybody watching the video. And then you could just put these files in your game. And I'm going to show you in a moment. Okay, so I made sure that I have my health and my max health variables. So in my game, user variables, I even have my lives. And I'm going to get rid of that to show you that you don't need it anymore. We have my health, my max health. So that's needed. I just put those at 3. When in the HUD elements, I made HUD element 0, health, space, deaths. So there's like 3 spaces between them and deaths. Under here, I'm going to put the thing for deaths. So that's not represented yet. I'm just going to show everything's working currently without it. So then there's my health, 3. So then we go in here, in the script settings, go to player hurt. Under common, player hurt, I made a folder. I just call it mod death counter. You don't even have to make a folder. You could put it with your other ones, but I'm going to rename these. I got these renamed. So we got, here's the original one, Hurt Player Metroidvania. We got Hurt Player Modified. Then we have Hurt Player Tile Death. Then we have Player Hurt Platform Based Tile. So the Player Hurt right now is the Metroidvania. I made it Metroidvania. You can inspect it, and it's the file I was just showing this previously that I didn't really edit. It's just got the sound taken out of it right here. That's all I did. And I wrote a couple things right here and right here to show you currently that that's just what it's for. So then I'm going to attach tile to the hurt tile, platform based tile, or player hurt platform based tile. I can show you that's this tile. It'll open right now. And all it does is this, because everything commented out doesn't happen. So that'll show the tile is doing that. It's not even taking off a life, because you don't have lives right now. I guess it says you have 3, but you don't need lives right now anyway. It's not going to take it off. I'll even show like it'll decrease health instead of lives, or we can make it decrease something else. I could do that in like a couple seconds. So that's the script that we're using for that. It's just doing this. Trust me, it's not decreasing lives. It's just basically this hold on, I'm gonna show object collisions. I'm gonna do the 2-handle object collisions. I'm just doing this because this is the one that he or they're using in their project. Sorry, I keep using the masculine version. Of person. It's just it's their project. I'm just keeping this general as possible. It could be your project. Um, but this is their collisions. I didn't change anything. It's operating by what it would do. Jumps to the player hurt when the player collides with the monster is essentially what we're looking for right now. So there's that. I'm going to test. So I put the tile is right here, the spot in front of me. And then the monsters right here. And when you get hit by the monster, does the recoil, takes away the health, just like they do in their game, I guess. And then after you die, it's taking away your health and it's going back to the beginning of the stage, which was the last checkpoint essentially. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is go over all that and go back to it. So the hot element 0 is saying health and deaths. Hot element 2 is my health. It's line 36 and handle player hurt dead. I don't know if I named that properly or not. Hold on. Handle player hurt modified, I guess I'm gonna call that. Alright. Now the player tile, that's the one that's got death on it. That's the tile I'm gonna name for that one. There, alright. So I got rid of the lines regarding my lives in the tile. Commented out the sound for that another player. And after that I stopped typing because I went live. So now everything's basically by the cuff. I promised I would make it so the tile decreased my health. It's not going to check if your health is 0. So after it hits 0, it's going to do weird things. But it's just checking it, your health. It's just decreasing it. It's just to show that it is decreasing it. That's before we make it increase this variable. There you go, and now it starts acting all funny. Because you're looping around and stuff. Anyway, that works. So, going to increase my death count. And you update. But the thing is, what would happen was, if you're not checking for that 256, 255 number that we were talking about, then you'd have problems eventually. Stupid traffic outside. I live by the airport. So I put all this in here. So what it does is after it loads, at first it loads up my death count, which is the variable we're going to add right now. We're going to remove my lives. make that HUD element one number, 3 places, paste that in there, my death count. Like that, I guess. So we're doing that. We got the element 0, health and deaths. We're gonna move this, kind of make it line up with that. So it kind of, it's fine there. What else do we need to do? The tile does it. Player dying from the monsters is not doing it. It's just going to be the tile for now, because this is how we're going to check it. Save it. I use the original name, not the name that I put on there, the name that originally was. Because that's the one that I'm using in my project right now. I hope nobody's got epilepsy, because this is just flashing. Now you see what's going on, right? So you can add with carry, you can add value. Yeah, so I'm gonna probably need 3 of these. I mean, because anyway, we're gonna be using add value. I mean, add with carry was just doing the same thing anyway. So we're gonna do add value. It's gonna increase the death count just by 1. If you were to make this 1 here, that would be 10. If you make this 2 here, it'd be 100. So yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. So what we're gonna do is, instead of comparing against a number, we could keep that compare in there, just make it so you don't want to go over that number anyway. Whatever, if you want to just not have that in there, you can go to 999, but then it's going to eventually, if somebody gets over 999 deaths, it's going to mess up. So you'd have to check against the 9, the 9, and the 9. You'd have to be like, basically, um, I think if it was over 9, so you check if it was 10. And if it goes to 9, it's fine, but if it was about to go to 10, it doesn't do it. So we can have an experimental. We can have one that's like this, like and then I could write in one for here for you to, or the reverse. I'm sorry. This will be the legitimate one, and then the one that goes to 999 that you'd want to experiment with. We'll make that another one. All right, so I did this. Optional commented out hazardous script below. This commented out script, use at your own risk. Max 999 deaths. I wrote that, does it count? Checks for 10 basically. And then if it's not, then it checks the 99 place. I think I could just do 10. try that. Just do 10 like that. Um, and then if it's not 10, it adds. But if it's 10, it would just not add anything. It would just stop. Whatever. It's optional. It's you know, um it's not needed. But then I got this. If you could find a better way for this one, just fix it yourself. You could do something to make yourself have like 9,999 deaths or something like that. But this is just the simple way I did it. Checks for that number, does that. If not, adds one, updates the HUD element. I made sure I put these in there. You need these three variables. There you go. And like I said, there's no edits needed to the um, other script, just the player hurt and the tile. So if this works for the tile, I just basically copy paste this to the player hurt and it works. So watch. There we go, that's there. Test this out. Apologies if prone to epileptic seizures. After I get like 11 or 12, I'll stop. So there's that. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is copy all this to the player hurt. So here's the player hurt. There's your health when you get hurt. There's when your health is 0. This is when you die. Continue map. LDA. Does that look familiar? It's right here. So we're going to do this. Looks good to me. Now we want the monsters to hurt you. We want to run into the tile. We want to do the whole shebang. Run into the tile a couple times. Go play around with the monsters. And that was me getting 10 from dying on the monster. This is 11. Now get over here. There you go. The monster gave me the 12th death. This gave me the 13th. There, 14, so we're not Western unlucky. So there you go. Okay, so do handle object collisions is not going to be included because I just proved like it works for that. It'll work for anything. I literally just put it in my game. This is what I named it. So that's what that's going to be. I'm just going to copy that one. Oops, sorry. Copy the name of that one. Delete that copy because that was a crappy copy. So there's that one. And we got the death one. Yep. Sure that's the real deal. It sure is. Right, those are the ones I'm going to include. Copy these, put them in my game and show. So like say you got this folder right here. I copy these into my game and show. You got the folder, you would copy the folder right here. And then in that folder you would have these two. This is unnecessary. I only need it for my game, like I said, because it's running for a friend's game. It's for a special request. To just show it would work in their game as well, etc. Because I use a different object collision than they do. So these two files are what's needed. And you follow all these instructions, or you watch this video, etc., and it should work. So I'm going to change the files. So you go right here, once you get them in your folder, script settings, go down here to player hurt. There's that death counter. There's that player hurt. It says handle hurt player modified. The tile, it's right here, tile 2. That's my hurt tile. I don't know what it is for your game, but just any hurt tile. So it says hurt player tile death, because it's an instant death tile. It showed that these are those files. Start up my game and it does the same thing you just watched all over again. This thing will go right to, whatever number. Should be 255. If you want to go over that, you could try experimenting with other numbers, but I don't recommend that. Because it requires writing more lines of code and stuff, and more lines of code just adds more to the game that's unnecessary. So anyway, there you are. It works. Make sure that you add these into your game. You notice I took my lives out. My game's still running without my lives. You don't need my lives anymore. You just need these. And then your ammo, your player weapon, the other ones you had, just get rid of my lives. Alright? Enjoy. Thank you and have a great day.